Here.
Just kidding.
Oh,
We're here, baby.
Oh,
Thank
this
you, Courtney.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Thank you
Welcome
guys so
back.
much for your patience. Dear God, it's been the most stressful 15 minutes of my whole life, but we're here.
I bet it
I'm-
was.
Say that again?
I bet
We get
it
it.
was. How you
Oh, yes.
doing?
But we're here now. Can I not do my camera? Is it just
Oh,
the
if you want
microphone?
to turn it on, you can. You should be able to.
If you want to.
It's not letting me. It says video chat isn't available for more than 300 users. So,
Oh, well, then. Oh,
do
well.
you guys like the username or what do you
Nate
think?
Vaughn 22.
If you know Nate Vaughn,
Gotcha.
you're an OG. You're an OG. But wait, you're not guys? Are you guys able to give me access to my own camera?
Zane?
You have to do
One
it
second.
with
There
I'm on
should
it.
be
1 second.
there should be a way to give perms for that.
Bet. Wait, can you see me now?
No.
no.
Awesome. This is so fun. Well, hey guys. I guess if one of you can put me on a camera, again, the fact that I'm not in charge here is hilarious.
You gotta put the camera on yourself. We're trying
I'm
to.
You're mortal.
We're trying to set up the role where you're able to turn your
Okay.
camera on, but
No
you'll have to
worries.
click the button by yourself.
Yes, well, someone said Grandpa is back. That's correct. I'm still unable to use technology, apparently. If you guys can get it figured out, let me know. If not, we'll just get going. But hey, guys, I'm seeing the chat. It's been a little while. Could not be more stoked to talk to you guys and connect. And there's so much stuff we have in store. It's going to be insane. I've never been more excited for anything ever in my life. So yeah, I'm really, really stoked and thankful for everyone who stuck around. And I know I disappear for a little while every now and again, but again, I'm just so grateful for everyone's continued support and love and outpouring, and it just means the world. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how we want to do this. I mean, I'll keep reading questions. Someone said, "Am I late? Entrance?" Yeah, unfortunately, Ricky Bowen lives on. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep reading comments. How's Woody? Woody's great. Thanks for asking. He's currently with my parents, living out his days with them, but I miss him and love him dearly. Thanks for asking. Someone said I farted, LOL. Thank you for being honest. I want to create a safe space for honesty. Oh my God, wait. Yeah, someone said Stephen Ford. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now, and I used Nate Vaughn thinking I was saying Stephen Ford. Oh my God, I think I need to get checked into a senile facility. But it's going to be great. Hakuna Matata. Much love. So wait, who's leading this Q&A, or am I kind of
Okay,
taking the
I got
picture?
you. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can everyone hear me?
Can I interrupt for a second? I
Oh,
gave
go,
the
Zane.
administration.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Sweet. Someone said audio bad. Oh, I hope that's not my fault. I hope I can fix that.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. How do you want to do the questions, or should I just read from the chat?
Okay, so we have a bunch that were kind of pre-approved for you. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of introduce this real quick with saying that thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for submitting your questions. I know this time isn't convenient for everyone and it's the middle of the night for some of you. So thank you for participating. And for everyone here today, we have a special promotion for our Discord members. If you're in the US and pre-ordered a copy, you can visit the link in announcements to receive a signed book plate. And if you haven't purchased your copy yet, you can at joshuatbassett.com. And for those of you who aren't in the US, we also have a special rookie Discord role. It's for everyone who reacts to the book plate message with a book emoji. Just that way everyone gets a little reward out of joining us today. And yeah, we're really excited to welcome Joshua back to Discord. And today we're going to be hosting this with Val, Zane, and myself. So I'm going to start asking some of the questions that a lot of you had for Josh.
I mean, about 5 years ago, honestly, I think Tim Federle, the showrunner for High School Musical, was one of the first people to kind of say I should do it. I think a few of my friends had seen some of my writings just in my notes app, and kind of gave me the idea. And I brought it up to my agent, and he goes, yeah. I mean, every actor thinks they can write. We'll get you a ghostwriter. And I was like, I don't want a ghostwriter. I was like, I want to do this myself. And he was like, yeah, maybe, like, we'll put you in touch with a literary agent. So sent some sample chapters to a literary agent, and he just was like, absolutely blown away and was freaking out. He's like, "Fuck a ghostwriter, you're doing this. Like, you have to do this." I really, he really was one of the biggest encouragers from the beginning. And so, I came up with the idea of Rookie like right off the bat, and I actually made the book cover 5 years ago. I wrote it on a piece of paper as kind of an example, and then my friend put it in like the format that it's in now. And so I've had the cover for 5 years, and I've had the general idea, but I knew that I really wanted to get it right, and I knew that I couldn't release a book from a place of instability, or if I'm not like, have my head on my shoulders. And so as I continue to evolve, I just made the book along the way. And so there's chapters I wrote 5 years ago that are basically untouched. There's journal entries that I directly took out of my journal. There's plenty of plenty of voice memo that I made along the way. And so I kind of, instead of sitting down and thinking back and reflecting, I was creating the book as I was living my life. And so I basically had thousands and thousands and thousands of notes that I had to go down and whittle it down to like the very best chapters, and that was a very painful process. I mean, it was very traumatic in the process of just like getting out some of these more painful chapters. But so that's why I kind of took a long time, because I really wanted to get it right, and it was really painful. But anyways, I'm so unbelievably stoked with how it's turned out, and I think it was really worth the wait.
That's awesome to hear. So our next question that a lot of our members had for you was, what inspired you to write the book? And how did you decide that the best format is writing a memoir?
Wait, sorry, what was the first half of that question?
What inspired you to write the book?
Oh, yeah. Well, again, I just think vulnerability breeds vulnerability, and I think that I want to both inspire people to go for it and follow their dreams. Being somebody who was no schooled, who was self-taught in 5 instruments, lived in my car when I was 16, and would just sneak into these big high-profile events, which I don't want to spoil too much, although I've talked about it a little bit publicly. But there's some funny stories in there, some events I was not supposed to be in, but I just pretended like I belonged and talked my way through a red carpet. And so the first half of the book is I really want people to feel inspired and empowered to follow their dreams and be fearless. It deals with a lot of courage and cowardice and the cycles of that in my life, and just how fake it till you make it really does get you pretty far. So the first half is really follow your dreams, and the second half is who are you when you wake up the next morning, and what really matters in life. And so my goal with the book is to help people overcome their fear, to help people pursue their dreams, and also remember what really matters in life. It's not about success is awesome, but ultimately, what good is a mansion all by yourself? And I think my hope with the book is that it will give people perspective, give people a tool to heal. I say in the book that the artist paves the road for the audience to stroll down. And what I mean by that is that the hard work you do as an artist, facing that emotional pain, is what allows people to have a cathartic, easy, effortless experience when they read it. And so I think that's it, is just the idea that words and ideas can really change the world. And if you change a heart, you change someone's life. And so my goal with the book is to give people, insight, wisdom, and hopefully my worst mistakes can become lessons for you. But yeah, I mean, again, I just, it's continued to evolve over time. And the sort of why behind it has really evolved and been a discovery over the last 5 years.
Yeah, for
Does that
sure.
satisfy
You kind of
you?
touched on, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, does that answer your question?
I mean, I hope it does for the people. The next one was probably our most asked question. And you kind of talked about how, this book was kind of like a traumatic process for you, but like, what was the most challenging process? What was the most challenging part throughout the process of writing Rookie? And also, what was your favorite?
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the most challenging part is any time you're going to be really honest, um, you can potentially hurt other people. And so I really was trying to find a way to be able to speak the truth without attacking and or exposing people that I don't really care to attack. It's like, how do I process my own, for example, like trauma that I've been through that I don't want to get too deep into it now, but I mean, the book is pretty heavy. I'll let you know. But like, how do I talk about my trauma without hurting
my family? How do I talk about things I've been through, and be honest, knowing that people are probably going to use my words against me? But honestly, I think the hardest part is just, again, sitting in the discomfort and having to like process things that I didn't want to look at. And in a way, it was a real good tool and a good way to get me to work through a lot of stuff. And, there'd be days where I do my morning routine, I get super in the right headspace, I'd go to Malibu to write. And the second I sit down and start talking about something painful, my whole body is in like agonizing pain. And that might sound dramatic, but just I'm a very like visceral feeler, and I would really struggle to just like work through stuff. I think, again, like a lot of shame, there's a lot of areas you don't want to look at, but I find that it's actually the most healing and the most gold is in those spaces. And so having the courage to be completely honest, not with the world, but with myself, and to face and work through those difficult emotions was the hardest. So by a landslide, that was that. And then I think the most rewarding part is, like, for example, there's a chapter in the book that's just straight up a letter that I wrote to my mom, a handwritten letter. We had a pretty tough conversation a couple years ago, and I had a lot of reflecting from that, and it really broke me because she was just very honest in the ways in which I've hurt her. And so I wrote her a letter, and I basically just put that straight in the book. And then there's a text that I sent my dad at one point, that was just a sincere love letter to him, and I copy pasted that in the book. And being able to kind of put those little pieces in the book that are just raw, was really fulfilling, and seeing how that's impacted people who have already read the book, and a lot of people say that's some of their favorite stuff in the book. And then as well as some of the more fun stories, like sneaking into the VMA's red carpet in an outfit I stole, was just such a fun chapter. It's one of my favorites to read and to share with people. Because, while there's a lot of deep stuff in the book, there's also a lot of fun in it and a lot of adventure. And so reflecting on some of those early days when I was living in my car when I was 16 was really nice to kind of look back on it, how far we've come. No pun intended.
All
There you go.
right. Yeah. So, you said you touched on a lot of things that were like fun and also like not as fun, but how did you know that the book was finished?
Honestly, I don't know that it is. I think what I mean by that is that at a certain point, you just have to decide. It's kind of like with an album, like you can tinker with it forever, but you got to just at some point make the decision. And honestly, it really was that my publishers just picked a date. We decided May 5th was the day. And so there was a non-negotiable there, especially like once we had all the ducks in order. Like I can't push it anymore. And so it made me just have to go, okay, this is everything I know so far. This is everything I'm certain about. And there's a couple chapters that I wish could have been in the book, but maybe they'll be in a re-release if I do like an extended version. But again, it's as an artist, you're always evolving, and ideally until I take my last breath, I'm going to continue to evolve. But at a certain point, you just pick a date and you go.
That's true.
There
You
you
just
go.
talked about like writing albums and stuff. So compared to writing music, what was writing a book like? Was it easier? And how did it help you in terms of processing emotions?
That's a banger question. I think, huh. It is similar to writing music in that it's very intuitive, in the sense that the more I think about lyrics and the more I'm like trying really hard to sound smart or wise, I kind of make garbage lyrics. But the second I just like word vomit and let the song come out, I end up writing something that kind of almost surprises me. And I found the same process to be the case with the book. And because the book is a poetic format, there's also like a rhythm to the words that is a very delicate dance that you have to kind of do, in a sense that like every syllable in a song matters, right? You can't have a lyric that doesn't fit rhythmically or with the melody. It has to be a certain amount of syllables. And so because of the format I made the book in, I had to be very critical with the syllables, because in my head there's a cadence in which it's written and to be read. And so that was similar in terms of process. But for some reason, writing a book is more vulnerable, I found, because you can't hide behind music. And also, like, poetry can so easily be cringy, and I've been so hyper aware that like there's a fine line between just like really artistic, cool poetry and just like really cringy, basic stuff. And so that was a really interesting dance to kind of do, like I said. So yeah, I think it did help me process a lot of emotions. And I think it was a lot harder because I'm not as much collaborating with other people. Like in the studio, you're very much sharing around ideas and kind of you paint a picture and it's a little more removed and artistic. Whereas the book is very authentic and very connected to my identity. It's very raw, more so I think than in music. And so it was different in that way, but also similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's great. That kind of transitions to our next question. So those were our most commonly asked questions. These next ones are going to be specifically from members. So this one's from Danny, username Danny1304. And they were asking, how was the writing process of it? Did you keep it in a journal and then combine them together or just write as you went?
I'm so sorry. My manager just texted me, say that question one more time.
No, you're so good. How was the writing process of Rookie? And did you keep it in a journal and then combine them together or just write as you went?
I mean, honestly, it was pretty scattered. I think just again, since I knew it would be called Rookie, anytime I wrote a note on my phone that I thought was anything special, I would just write Rookie on it or throw it in a folder in my notes app. I think I have 18,000 notes in my phone, and then I have another 16,000 on my iPad. Yes, I'm an iPad kid. Deal with it. Yeah, I get voice memos, notes app, like journal entries. There's a lot of like physical notes that I have as well. Like I would kind of write out on my wall like the timeline and sort of throw out all the ideas I had so I could see them visually and mix them around and stuff. And so ultimately, yeah, I think I find that I create the best on the go. You know, if I'm on the train, in the car, if I'm on a walk, if I'm in a meeting, sometimes I'll step out to use the restroom, but really I'll just go record an idea. Or write down something, or sometimes I'm in conversations with people and I'll just hit record. Which, side note, I actually really want to start just releasing my voice memos and notes in like a format, like maybe like a Substack type thing. I feel like that'd be really cool. If you guys are down and think that's a good idea, I want to. I've been playing with that idea. So let me know if you guys fuck with that idea. But anyways, you know, again, I think the process is just like wherever I am, I create. And so I've kind of done my best to organize it, but it's been very scattered.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can speak for all of us when I say that I think your fans would really enjoy that. But yeah, so moving on to the next question. This one's from Liz. Her username is Pooch's Peonies. You said that this entire process of getting this book published took 5 years. Did you ever face any hesitations of publishing the book? And if so, what pushed you to persevere through those doubts?
I always knew I was gonna release it. I always wanted to release it. I just never knew. I didn't know that it was ready until it was. To be honest, I had a publishing deal with another publisher who I won't name. You could probably guess who it was, but they're a pretty big company, and I had a deal with them for the last 5 years, and we butted heads every step of the way, and it caused a lot of tension and friction, and they just had a very different idea of sort of, you know, what they think it should be. And they kind of told me along the way, though, that I can be completely honest. You know, I can write about the deepest, sort of most secretive parts of my life. And they were like, we love it, want you to be honest. And then when I turned in the manuscript, they were like, yeah, we just don't think, we just think this is too, it's too honest. They're like, we want to scale it back a little bit. And like, but they're like, we don't feel it's fair to you. And so I ended up going with another publisher, Authors Equity. And the second I got on the phone call with them, I just started bawling. And I don't know why, but they were just like, tell me your story. And I started explaining why I want to write the book, or why I wrote the book, and just like bawled my eyes out. And I sent them the manuscript, and they were like, we love it. We love that you're being bold with this. And we think every decision you made is fantastic. And so they let me tell the story I wanted to tell. And I think that definitely empowered me to kind of be like, okay, I'm ready. Because with the other company, who I won't name, but you've probably put the pieces together, there were just a lot of filters, and they're a family company. And so they were very much like, you know, they were just holding me back a lot. And so, honestly, once I got with Authors Equity, I was able to really feel empowered and feel ready to do it. But ultimately, going back a little bit to answer your question a little more, I think what really gives me the strength to keep going is seeing the positive benefits that vulnerability in writing can have in the world. And I think anytime someone comes up to me on the street and says, this interview you did 5 years ago or whatever has impacted my life and made me feel less alone, that's what fuels me to keep going, and what gives me the resilience is that my goal with this book is to serve and to give people freedom and perspective and wisdom and hope and healing. And so, not to be cheesy, but you guys are honestly what keeps me going and what makes me want to persevere in those times of doubt or fear. So thank you guys for, again, always sticking around and through thick and thin. And again, I only hope that it can benefit you. And if anyone takes away any benefit from any art I make, I think it redeems the suffering that it took to get there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think as a creator and an artist, it's just nice knowing that you're inspiring people. And our next question is from Jeans, a Discord username Bowen's Joshi. In the time it took to write Rookie, what are some words of inspiration you've learned/heard from someone that inspired an excerpt?
Oh, man. I mean, I have quotes from all kinds of people. A Big Magic is a big inspiration for me in terms of like just Liz Gilbert's philosophy on creativity. Atomic Habits by James Clear has been a huge inspiration for me as well. Brene Brown, I quote a couple times. She talks a lot about shame. I actually quote Jason Earls, funnily enough, the homie, in the book, because he said something to me once. He said, if they can hate you more than they hate themselves, even for just a moment, they will. And he was kind of giving me advice on how to navigate, sometimes when people aren't the nicest online. And that was really gave me a lot of freedom in realizing a lot of times people are often projecting some sort of self-hatred. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be criticized and that criticism isn't good, and constructive criticism I think is definitely necessary. So I'm not just saying anytime someone says anything bad, it's because they hate themselves. But a lot of times, you can't take that hatred personally because it's often stuff they're dealing with that they're projecting onto you. So that kind of gave me freedom as well. But yeah, there's so many people that have encouraged me and inspired me. I mean, Tim Federle, I quote him many times in the book. There's a lot of times in which I would consult or I would ask for advice from him. And I mean, there's just so many people in my life, so many friends that have been so supportive and have really helped me work through some stuff and have inspired it. But I think that answered the question. Yes, Dewey Wood. Someone said you mean Dewey Wood. Wait, also side note, somebody asked how I like the new Harry album, and it's personally my favorite of his. I think it's unfucking believable. It's so fucking good. I think the only one that comes close is his first album, which still has a special place in my heart. But the production on this album and the dance music absolutely kills me, and I really hope I see all y'all at MSG. But next question.
That's so real. Next one is from Peyton, username Peyton with 3 Ys, 3 Ns, 0221. What is something you would like us to know before reading your book?
Oh man, something I think I would like you to know. I don't know. It's so funny. I'm trying to think of something. I guess just be aware that it's going to be a bit of a journey. Well, Alyssa, you got to read the book, right? I saw your TikTok. You still here, Alyssa?
You what?
Didn't you read the book?
I did.
Okay, I was curious. Maybe
My mom just yelled from the other room and said she did too.
Oh, no way, no way. Well, what do you think people should know before they read my book? That's a better question. No pressure. You don't need to answer.
Gee, thanks for putting me on the spot.
Sure.
I'd say just make sure you're prepared to go into it, maybe learning stuff about yourself as well. And just make sure you're in the right headspace before you really sit down and open it. Because I know I opened it at first, and then there were a couple of times I had to take a few seconds before continuing. But it's definitely an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. And it could be read. You don't have to read all the way through in one sitting. It could be read in little bits as well. Because it goes from up here to down here so fast, but it's also it was very good.
Totally, thank you. And honestly, reading the audiobook was tough, just going back to back to back in some of those chapters that get a little more dense near the end. I was like, man, this is quite a thing to work through. But the way I wrote it, with a very minimalist, concise writing, you could either blow through it in an hour or you can sit and chew on it. I think one of my biggest inspirations was that book Helium by Rudy Francisco, which is my favorite poetry book, by the way. But when I first read that book, I would just like read one line and sit and stare out the window for an hour, and just chew on it. And so that's my goal with people is that, again, you can either do both, right? You can pick it up at any point or you can do start to finish. But I've had friends read it in literally an hour, and I've had people take their time with it because of the same things you said, Alyssa, and how it can be a lot. But again, I think ultimately, hopefully, will provide people with hope and with healing. And so even though it is a bit scary, I think it's important to look in some of the darker places in order to bring light to the shadow and really transmute that pain. And so, yeah, take your time with it. And hope you enjoy.
All right. Our next question is from Cooper, username Cooper Smells. What were possible titles for the book if it wasn't called Rookie?
Honestly, there were none. I knew it was Rookie from the beginning. I don't know. I've just always known that. So I don't know. I don't have an answer, unfortunately. But I already have some other names for some potential future books. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Hey, whenever you trust your gut, you got to trust your gut. So now Zane's going to take over. You already mentioned a little bit about vulnerability, but these questions will dive more into that. So go Zane.
Sweet.
Hello. Okay, this question is from Anna. The username is Anna Chiara. And their question is, were you afraid of the reaction of your loved ones, for them to like read your deepest thoughts on the pages of your book? And what was the process of that?
Yeah, that's a great question and a very delicate one that I don't want to go too much into just for their sake. I will say I think that it's going to be difficult and heartbreaking. My parents have asked to not read the book until it's out. So they were like, we want to read it with the rest of the world. And I said, okay. Attitude, Alyssa read my book before my parents. But I think, what I find is that I feel like I do my best to honor people and also tell my story. And what I find is that the benefits of being vulnerable far outweigh the downsides. And so I did my very best to hold my own. And also, I'm the one in the public eye, and I want to protect my family. They don't deserve to be kind of unfairly, brought out into the public, if that makes sense. And so it's a delicate thing, but I think I've done it well. I think they're just going to be probably heartbroken at just seeing some of the stuff that I've been through that they don't know about necessarily, or like hearing more about my thoughts through some things I've been through. But I think it'll be good, and I hope they love it as much as I do.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, the next question is from Amanda. The username is TMH Satellite. And I think you kind of touched on this, but in Rookie, you open up about some really personal moments in your life. Was there anything you almost didn't include because it felt too vulnerable, and what ultimately made you decide to share it anyway?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that I ended up not putting in, but very few, very few. I mean, it's very very honest. I mean, there's a chapter called "I Shared a Wall with the Monster," which, trigger warning, is about some trauma I experienced as a child. And that one was really difficult because, it's talking about some very real stuff. And I do my best in it to kind of maintain a poetic, what's the word? Not facade. Like I wanted to speak about trauma in a way that's poetic, so it's not too difficult to swallow. But then there's another chapter about some other trauma I experienced as a child that is very honest and not poetic at all. And I was like not sure about it, but again, I think the more we don't talk about this stuff, the more it continues to happen. And I'm okay to be the one to take the bullet and start the conversation, even if it's uncomfortable, because I know that I'm not the only one. And for example, a friend of mine who's a guy read an early draft, and he said, I didn't know another guy had ever gone through what I went through. You're the first person I've ever heard talk about it. And this is someone who's 25, who's live their whole life with this secret. And so that is what gives me the motivation and makes me feel empowered to say it, because even if just my friend was to benefit from that, like imagine how many more people will gain some sort of freedom from me being honest. And so ultimately, again, it's like, you know what, I don't know how long I'm going to live on this planet. You know, I don't really, how do I want to be remembered, right? You know, it's like, I think being courageous and helping people is more important than anything. You know, nothing's guaranteed, and Lord willing, I have a long life, but you never know. And I'm like, what else am I living for if not to set people free? So, yeah, kind of a long-winded answer there, but I think that's what ultimately gave me the sort of strength, I guess, to include that stuff in the book. But good question.
Yeah, wow. Okay, the next question is from Liv. The username is Sleepfast. And their question is, I recently started journaling, and one major thing that was holding me back from doing it for so long was the fear of being too honest about myself and my feelings. At any point while writing Rookie, did you feel like you were holding deeper feelings back, especially when you realized you wanted to put this out into the world? And did you feel like the need to hold back on certain topics besides, like you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there was a time when I was writing and I wasn't planning on writing about this stuff that happened to me when I was 14. Um, but I just had the idea of like, oh yeah, you haven't talked about this thing. But then I was like, no, I can't talk about that. Like that's like not, it's gonna be too much if I talk about that. But I just told myself like at the very least, just get it out on the page, even if it's just for you, you know? And I'll be honest, like literal physical pain as I'm writing it, you know, like, and not to scare anyone, like hopefully it's more cathartic than when I wrote it, but it was so painful, but I just allowed myself to be as completely honest as possible and then decide later if I want to put it in the book. And I think that's crucial as any kind of artist is if you are trying to write a song at the piano and you're trying to come up with lyrics and all you're thinking about is how people are going to judge you or if your mom's going to like it or if you know, if anyone's going to care, like you are too many steps ahead. And I think it's taking a step back and going like, you know what, I'm going to write this. If I write this and then burn it immediately, then that's fine. But at the very least, just like give yourself the permission to get it out. And I think, again, I struggle with facing the truth. I struggle with wanting to look at the skeletons in the closet. And so that was honestly the biggest battle was just being able to be honest. I feel like I've said this a lot of times at this point, so I don't mean to sound redundant. But again, I think the practice is, can you write without any expectation about where it will end up? Because the reality is, technically speaking, 98% of the things I wrote for the book didn't get included because I wrote 10,000 notes or whatever. And so ultimately, you know, I just didn't judge and I just kept being honest and putting it out. And then when you look back, you kind of see what's worthy of sharing and what's something you can let go of. So that's been my process. But I still struggle with writing and journaling sometimes because sometimes it is uncomfortable to be honest. But I find that freedom's on the other side of that discomfort. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay, the next question is from Ellie. The username is ellie.ferg06. And their question is, did you ever have doubts about your feelings towards certain situations if you tried writing on it too long?
I'm not exactly sure I understand that question. Like you're saying if I um sat with it too
Like,
long, would I start to like second guess myself? Is that kind of the idea?
yes, I think so.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, there's so many times where I'd be like, this is stupid. Like, this isn't anything good. Like, why would I put that in? Like, but then I would share it with people. I think honestly, it was my friends that helped me understand like things where they'd be like, no, there is value in this one. Like, I think like there's a chat. Actually, I think I posted crying over spilt milk on Discord a long time ago.
Yes.
But it's a bit refined now, but that's like a chapter that I've had for a while that I was like, oh, that's stupid. Like I'm over it, whatever. But it's like, it still is valuable just because I'm used to it. It doesn't mean that it's not going to have some value. And I was able to strengthen that one, I think, a bit and include it in the book. And so, yeah, I definitely went back and forth on things, but ultimately, I think it's in collaborating with other people at the end of the process that really helps you solidify. And if someone means something to someone, then it'll mean something to other people. So that's ultimately how I decided, I think.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is from Robin, and the username is bolter. Sorry. Their question is, how did writing this book change the way you see your past?
I mean, I don't know. I think when I read the book back now, I think I have a lot more compassion on myself than I did at the time. And that's something I actually noticed as I went through all of my notes over the years when I was really finalizing the whole thing. Is I realized how much shame and how much self-hatred I've had. And it's just some of those earlier notes are just like riddled with this self-hatred. And so, in looking back, I'm like, man, I was a lot harder on myself than I had to be. And I was often unfairly cruel to myself. And so I think being on the other side of it, I'm now able to look back and see that and have a lot more compassion for myself. And I think also what I found now that I read it through is how much resilience it built in me, everything that I've been through. And I just didn't really see that until looking back. So I think that's the best answer I got right now for that question. Hopefully that's satisfactory.
I hope so. The next question is from Cameron. Sorry if I'm butchering this, but the username is Cameron NW28. And their question is, was there a moment while writing this book where you realized you had outgrown a belief you used to hold on to?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many times. Yeah, I think ideally, staying humble and curious is crucial. And, I there's so many things that I'm learning even now, like I've been lately really into acupuncture, and it's something that's like changed my life, and like it's really helped my anxiety and depression, and it's helped my creativity. It's helped so much, and so there's so much stuff that I'm learning about that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I've refined my understanding of so much lately, and like the way the body and spirit are connected, and how diet influences so much of our mental health. And there's all these different things that I'm learning. So even when I read my audiobook, I was like, I don't know if I'm fully aligned with that thing anymore. But again, you got to just keep evolving and whatnot. But yeah, I'd say my beliefs are challenged on the daily. I think I'm constantly reading all kinds of different philosophical texts, or just different people's perspectives. I think the most foolish thing someone can do is believe they know everything. And I obviously, I'm pretty outspoken on a lot of things, but there's so much that I don't know. And I think the most dangerous thing is to stop growing and stop learning. And so to answer your question, it's like, yeah, all the time. My beliefs have constantly grown, and I've deconstructed a lot of parts of religion, and I love Jesus, but I got a lot of problems with religion, and so there's like a hard thing to balance there with that. And we don't have to get too much into all that stuff. That's not my point really, but you know what I'm saying. Like my belief is very nuanced, I guess, and I don't say that I fit into any category of a certain denomination of belief of any kind. And so yeah, I'm constantly growing. Sorry, this is a very scattered answer, but yeah, my beliefs are being challenged every day.
Mhm.
I think I said too
Okay.
much.
No, you're good. Okay, the next question is Agnesa. The username is Mr. underscore Bong underscore TBH. Their question is, upon writing of the book, when did you feel like you had finally hit a golden spot with what were you writing? Not just for the book, but a resolution of emotions personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I did this interview of this podcast recently, and it was right when I was having to turn in the book. I recorded it months before it came out, but the School of Life podcast with, I think his name's Miles Adcox. And at the end of it, um, he said, what would you tell somebody who is considering taking their own life and or in a situation of hopelessness? And the idea just came to me, love is worth living for. And I said that to him and instantly just got emotional. And I was like, aha, like eureka, that's the conclusion, that's the thesis, that's the statement of the book, is love is worth living for. And so when I got that, I literally told him as soon as the podcast ended, and this is a spoiler, not for Alyssa, but for everyone else, this is a spoiler. I said, love is worth living for will be the last sentence of the book. I know that now. And so it was kind of a cool moment of like, it came to me in an interview, and it was like this aha, the sort of, if I were to sum up the whole book, it's that love is worth living for. And so that was definitely a moment. And then I don't want to spoil the like last chapter. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not gonna answer that question fully yet. Maybe afterwards I can answer that. But the last chapter is my personal favorite. So I'm excited for you guys to read that. But it's one of the most important revelations of my life. So I'm debating. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I tell you it now or should I wait? Alyssa, what do you think? The chapter 22. What do you think?
Don't.
Don't spoil. Cool.
I think it was like it was
Yes.
a perfect ending to like after reading everything. So I think
Yeah.
like keep it until
Cool.
people read it themselves.
Respect. You're gonna make a lot of enemies right now, Alyssa. No, I'm just kidding. No, guys, it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. We got to leave some teasers. You know, you can't give it all away.
Can't wait to read actually. Okay, the next question is from Riley. Username is Riley is underscore. Their question is, you talked about feeling like a rookie in your own life and struggling with imposter syndrome despite your success. What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self who was just starting out in LA?
Oh man. Well, what I would say to 16-year-old Josh, there's a whole lot of things I'd love to tell him.
Yes.
One is just be careful who you trust. I think I was very naive and very almost toxically optimistic, and sometimes that actually got me more hurt than I should have been. A little bit more. Basically, when someone shows you who they are, believe them, and don't get into a relationship of any kind with somebody hoping for them to become a better version. Of course, you should still, love people well and be a good friend or partner or whatever. But just be careful. I think honesty is the biggest thing. But in terms of the imposter syndrome stuff, yeah, I mean, I think what's funny is that sometimes I think I need to listen to my 16-year-old self a little more, because 16-year-old Josh was living in his car, showering at the gym, just like absolutely out of his mind, being like, I'm just gonna go for it and do whatever. And that just got me so far. And sometimes I'm kind of like, man, I wish I had a little more of that courage when I was 16, But again, I think, when I was shooting season 1 of High School Musical, there's a moment in which I was pulled aside by Tim and I was freaking out, and I was like, dude, like this is in the book, but I basically was saying I'm a fraud. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I'm supposed to deliver this big monologue tomorrow, the big conclusion of season 1, and I don't know what I'm doing. And he just went, dude. Again, this is the executive producer said, dude, every day I show up on set, I'm worried people are going to find out. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing either. This is my first time doing this. I'm figuring out as I go. And so that gave me the permission to be like, well, if he feels like he's a fraud and a con man, then, and he's clearly killing it, then like, I think I'll be fine. And he said, you got this far, trust your instincts. And so I would say, I guess, to anyone in that same position, like, I think more people feel like a fraud than you realize. And that should be sort of, that should give you freedom to just go for it. I think, again, I think a lot of people are feeling that way. And sorry, my words are not flowing as smoothly as I'd like, but, we work with what we got.
No, it's going great actually. I want to interrupt a little bit. Do you how much do you have time? Because we still have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I got time.
Okay, perfect. Okay, the next question is from Rafinha, and the username is YR4FA. And their question is, many people talk about your courage, but I would love to hear about your technique. Was there any specific feeling or memory you tried to put into words, but felt that language wasn't enough to fully capture?
I don't know. I don't think so. I just think that's probably why it took me 5 years, because I think there were things that I knew I wanted to
write about, but it took me a little longer. But I don't know that there's anything that I'm like, oh man, I wanted to get that into words and wasn't able to. I feel like everything that I set out essentially to put in the book, I was able to find words for. But I'm curious what the technique thing means. Like, as in, like, what was my technique for getting it out? I'm assuming that's the question, part of the
Yeah, I
question.
think so.
But I mean, the Morning Pages by Julia Cameron, or Morning Pages come from the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. She essentially says, just when you wake up, write 3 pages without hesitation, no judgment, no breaks, just write 3 pages. And if that's all you write that day, that's great. But the point is to create without judgment. And I think that was what a lot of times would then launch me into ideas for chapters. Was just every day waking up, writing 3 chapters a day, or sorry, 3 pages a day, and kind of getting out of the way of judgment, which goes back to what I was saying earlier about how the songwriting process is best when you just kind of word vomit. I think the technique is actually getting out of your own way, and so that's been a big lesson for me in this is be as honest as possible, and almost trust fall into the creative process, which I talk a lot about the process of writing in the book too. There's quite a few chapters about like even improv and how like the whole rule in improv is yes and, right? You're just supposed to go with whatever comes up and just roll with it. I talk about the zone, which is all about, if you don't know, sort of getting into that space where time slows down and you're very much like in that magic creative sweet spot. So I talk about all those things in the book. I'm excited for you guys to read those, because just as much as there is like emotional, deep stuff, there's also very practical stuff and tools that hopefully kind of help you break through creatively or in whatever field that you're in your life. So yeah, hopefully that answer is satisfactory. I don't know why I'm second guessing all my answers. You guys have been the most supportive people ever.
Yeah, you're in a safe space. Okay, the next topic we're gonna dive into is the intersection of being an artist, and Val is gonna continue the questions.
Great.
Hi.
Hey,
Hola, Josh. How you
how you
doing?
doing? Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you feeling right now after all these questions?
I feel great. I mean, it's really great to connect and just I feel like this is such a beautiful community and everyone's so kind. So it's always making my day to be able to talk to you guys. Very grateful.
Same. So the next question is Shaura Bayar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing good. Anyways, sorry. The question is, when you posted a quote from Rocky on Instagram, a specific slide caught my attention.
Hmm.
He talked about the difference between an artist and a consumer, being the thermostat and a thermometer. This is something I have thinking about in many aspects since the past year. I wanna see the full perspective. I can pronounce. So sorry.
It's okay.
Do you understand the questions? Oh, do
Sorry,
you wanna
I
help
think
me?
yeah, the last one I didn't get.
Tip?
Sorry, I think you were
That
cutting out. I don't know if it's my connection or
further mine. Bernie, can you read the question, please?
Yeah, I got it.
I'm having
So,
trouble.
when you posted quotes from Rookie on Instagram, a specific slide caught my attention. It talked about the difference between the artist and the consumer being that of a thermostat and a thermometer. This is something that I've been thinking about in many aspects since the past year. I want to see your full perspective on this specific comparison.
yeah, I mean, I think there's two kind of people, like I said, I think, and by the way, you can be either or, right, at different times. Like there's times when you go to the theater to simply be a thermometer, right? Somebody else is setting the temperature and you are just being affected by that. Whereas sometimes you're the one who's changing the temperature in the room. And I think, like, for example, I did my best when I was on High School Musical, or really anytime I'm on a set, but I'd walk in every day with blasting 70s music, which maybe got annoying at some point, but it would make the whole crew start dancing and everyone would just like kind of get loose and free. And I would try to walk in with the best attitude I could. Not every day did I have the best attitude, but I did my very best to get there whenever I could. And so that is my example, I guess, of being a thermostat, is going in and changing the temperature, right? Creating an environment that's warm, welcoming, inviting. And again, as an artist, you get to set that temperature, and whatever vibe you bring is contributing to the space. And so again, some people are chameleons and they kind of absorb what's around them. And then some people are the ones that are making them change color, for lack of a better metaphor. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think hopefully that gives you a little more context on that idea. But it's one of my favorite concepts in the book.
Yeah, now it makes so much sense now that you explain it. Thank you.
Sweet.
Having trouble to. Can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay, perfect. The second question is from Joanna, and it says, if Rookie had a soundtrack, what song would represent the
Oh
most?
man. Honestly, I mean, I feel like I got to say Lifeline because of just what that song represents in terms of like, in the bridge talking about how like there's a distance from all the things we're not saying, and how that distance is not necessary. And when your life is kind of threatened, you kind of realize what really matters. And Lifeline, though it is for my mom, it obviously is a word that I feel for many of my friends and the people in my life. So yeah, I guess I would say Lifeline. But I'll get back to you if I have another answer that's not my own song. Or All in
Yeah,
Due
I was
Time. Honestly, All in Due Time I'd put up there as well.
a good one. Yeah. Okay. The answer is from name Lutudios. It says, has open up your book changed the way you write and share music now?
Sorry, you cut out. I'm so sorry. You said
I'm so sorry.
it's
I
okay.
don't know what's happened. Okay, it says, has open up your book changed the way you write and share your music now?
I don't know. I feel like it's a different kind of way of sharing that can be a little bit more direct, because a lot of times, like in songwriting, you kind of want to be a little bit more poetic or abstract, whereas in the book you can get a little bit more direct. But I think, yeah, it all kind of influences everything. I think the more I write literary stuff, the more I write music, and they all help each other. It's just kind of different forms of being intuitively honest is the best way to put it. So yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, yeah, I haven't thought about that.
That's beautiful. We have another question from Monica Gonzalez 21, and she asks, what advice would you give to your past self at the start writing Rookie?
At the start of writing Ricky,
Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe one of the biggest things I would say is keep moving forward. And it's going to be rocky, but the more you can embrace and accept that early on, and understand that the challenges you face are actually teaching you and growing you and making you into a better person. I think if I had a little bit more of an understanding of that, it would have alleviated some of the suffering. But I think there's sometimes where I've kind of gotten stuck in the process, and I think that's natural as we go through life. There's seasons where we're growing, and then there's seasons where we feel stuck or we're resistant to growth. But yeah, I think also just I would really tell myself that everything you're going through is beyond worthwhile, on the other side. And so even if you don't see the light, like I talk about on my shows, if you don't see the light yet at the end of the tunnel, trust me, it's there. You just have to keep going, and it'll all be all right, all in due time, or whatever.
That's so good. We have another question. Um,
All right, I think maybe this will be the
did
last one, if that's okay.
oh yeah, totally. This is a general one. It got repeated that, and it is, What do you hope the readers will take away from your book? What do you want
Yeah,
to
that's.
take?
I mean, I think. Sorry, was there more to that question? You said, "What do they hope people will take away?" And then
No,
did you? Okay, cool.
no, no,
Yeah,
that was.
I think I have a friend who is in finance and who read the book, who I didn't think would care too much for it. I mean, he's into philosophy, but he read the book and he said the most shocking thing for me was that it was just saturated in hope, and not hope, like not lofty hope, but hope that's rooted in reality. It's somebody seeing somebody go through difficult things and walk out the other side victorious. And so he just said it was saturated with hope. And so I hope that it gives people hope. I hope it gives people the courage to be honest. I hope that it gives people an excuse to be vulnerable. There's a chapter in the book, I don't know if I already put it out there, but I've said it before, which is that for every word you won't say to someone, there's a degree of separation. And with my dad, for example, every word that I feel I can't say to him um, keeps us distant. And obviously, there's people who are distant from people for good reason. And I'm not advising you should be getting closer to anybody that is not safe. However, a lot of times when people are able to be honest in relationship, that just opens the door and brings them so much closer. And so hopefully it's a vehicle for people to do that. And yeah, I mean, there's so many hopes that I have, can laugh and enjoy and have a little bit of a perspective and some tools to get through stuff. And I also hope that they understand that the point of life is to love and be loved. And if you can watch me go through suffering and make more money than my parents have ever made and still be completely desolate and in despair, hopefully it gives people a perspective of like, I think what we're looking for in life is not so much success, but belonging and community. And so I hope it cultivates community, connection. I hope that people are able to be free from the shackles that carry them. And there's one of my chapters that I think I put out on Instagram, which is, for the first time, I'm grateful to have gone through hell so I can walk alongside others, walk alongside others with those who are looking for a way out. It's something like that. I'm messing up one of the words there, but oh no, it's so I can walk alongside others, holding the hands of those who are looking for a way out. And so again, I think people hopefully will find healing and freedom. Like I've said from the beginning, I'm just a broken record at this point, but yeah, I'm stoked.
Okay. Well, that was beautiful. I have to say it. Thank you so much. We don't have more questions, but we're gonna ask you if you have the time to read something to us, something special you want to share about from the book. You can.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of what else. I feel like I've said so much. I'm like, um, I okay. I'm gonna announce this right now because
Okay.
fuck, should I announce it or no? Let me ask my roommate real quick. Hold on, I'm just gonna mute you guys.
Oh. Whoa. So.
Okay, I'm back. We decided
Okay.
it's a yes. So you guys are probably familiar with the book, or sorry, with the game. We're not really strangers. I made a game called Rookie Cards that are launching on May 5th, that are conversation cards based on the book. And so hopefully we're going to be able to sell them at the events we're doing at the Barnes Noble and all those pop-ups and stuff. But I'm going to be doing a ton of stuff with conversation cards because I think that they are a gateway to connection and they can cultivate a beautiful community. And for example, I played the game with my family on Thanksgiving because I had like all the questions picked out. And it was the most vulnerable Thanksgiving or any holiday dinner we've ever had. Almost everyone cried. I learned things about family members I never knew. And it was just so beautiful that I was able to give a tool that could be used to cultivate deeper connection with people I've known my whole life. It was a really special thing. So we're doing those cards. I truly can't be more excited. I think you guys will absolutely love them. And we worked so hard on the design and all the questions, and almost every question relates to something already in the book. So it's kind of like an extension. of it. I really wasn't planning on announcing this. I hope it's fine that I did. But I think you guys are really
It's
going to
so
love that.
cool.
And then I guess one more funny story is that I think I've already said this publicly, so forgive me if I have, but a friend's father read an early draft of the book, and he was on a flight, and he's like a 45-year-old lawyer, and he bawled his eyes out, and he quit his career as a lawyer that day because he was so inspired by the book. And so that's what I would say is that I hope it just ignites in you a burning passion and desire to go for it and to live your life to the fullest. I think we are a generation that has learned to contract and is very divided. And obviously, the world right now is a very, very scary and troubling, difficult and painful and hate-filled place. And I only hope that this book will empower you and ignite a fire in your spirit to go follow your dreams, to go do good in the world, to serve your community, to make a difference where you can. Because ultimately, I'm not looking for a billionaire to donate $1 billion, though that would be awesome. What I think is even more powerful is 1 billion people donating $1. And if everyone understood the impact their life can make, then the entire world would change. Everyone goes, "Oh, I'm just some person. What difference could I make?" If everyone says that, then no difference is made. But if even a few people can understand the power they have to make the world a better place, then we're going to see a new world. And so that's what I hope this book does for you, is it just lights a fire in your soul and tells you to go for it and lets you know that you're loved and gives you the tools to work through whatever you're carrying so that you can be a vessel and a beacon of light for those around you. So that's, I guess, what I would leave you with. And yeah,
Wow.
thank you guys again so much for your love and support. And again, I know sometimes I kind of go offline for a while, and I appreciate you guys just being patient with me as I work on stuff and live my life and continue to grow. And I always want to know ways in which I can be better. And so I'm actually thankful for ways in which sometimes you guys let me know that, and I think it's so important to have a community that's honest and compassionate and patient, but is real. And so, thank you guys for continuing to be so awesome and understanding and also honest, even when it's difficult. And I really appreciate all that stuff. So, again, I love you guys more than you could ever know. I'm so excited to see some of you next week in New York and the following events after that. There's going to be so many things coming out soon, so make sure you like turn on notifications on Instagram or whatever you got to do, because that's where I'm going to be doing pop-up stuff. I might just randomly be like, yo, meet at this park this time, or doing this act of kindness, or there's a lot of activations I want to do with like giving out roses or writing letters, and so that might be stuff that I'd invite you to do from your home or to go do real meetups in different cities. So just stay tuned for all that. There's so much good to come. And I could not be more excited. I love you all more than words. And thank you so much.
Thank you. We want to say thank you, all of us, for your kindness, your time, and especially for this book. So thank you so much for coming back with all of this.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you guys for hosting. I appreciate all the lovely moderators here. And yeah, let's do this more often, okay? Sorry I was gone for a little while.
Please.
Yes, we
Much
would
love
love
you guys.
to.
A little while.
Hey, hey,
Yeah,
hey.
we'll workshop it to be better in the future.
Living up to the
But
name,
I'd
Melissa.
also like to remind everyone.
500 days.
What do you say, Courtney?
Hello?
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to remind everyone to check announcements for that signed book plate for everyone who already pre-ordered the book. That's special for the Discord. So make sure you get that done.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys soon. Blessings. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for coming to talk.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios. Oh.